Good evening. I'm speaking to you from Montreal, to speak a bit tonight, facets maybe of the COVID situation. And I just wanted to begin at this moment with speaking about the vaccine because we're hearing a lot in the media, uh, that uh, that several vaccines are being developed across the world in that level. And I wanted to ask people, I want to ask you to reflect a little bit on this question of the vaccine that are going to be released. Because here we're dealing with pharmaceutical companies. And I don't know, pharmaceutical companies are companies, this is their main agenda. Their main agenda is to make profit. And what we've seen with the vaccines, we've seen a very accelerated process in the development of the vaccine. Because usually, when a medicine is developed, it takes it has to go through several phases. It has to pass different tests. It has to pass also different, how would I say, there are different clinical trials on human beings. A lot of this is being bypassed. And this is the process of developing the vaccine and the medicine of the vaccine has been speeded up, very speeded up. So I want you to ask yourselves or whatever. And I'm not an anti-vaccine person. Make this, I want to make this very clear. I just want you to consider what I've said. I think it should be a matter left up to individual choice. Some will probably what remains to be seen with this vaccine is how effective will it be? This is the big question that we have to ask ourselves. Will it be effective in stopping the spread? This remains to be seen in the future. And go a bit further on the vaccine, on the COVID situation. What is the reality of the physical disease, the physical presence of the disease around the world? I don't know if the word is different, but a connected perspective, because the, there are economic, social to the COVID. And on an economic level, what I'm going to tell you not going to be is not going to be something new. I'm going to thousands of businesses. And if we're going across the world, I don't have the for small businesses that have closed around the world. But since I'm living in Canada, I'm living in Montreal, I'll speak about that. I read a report earlier on that said that there were over 100,000 small businesses that had closed down in Canada. That's a lot of people who are out of work, who have lost their jobs, who have no means, who are left with no means in a sense, okay, support themselves, okay, they can get unemployment. And here in Canada, there are some. So let's reflect on that a minute. A lot of these businesses, a lot of them were struggling for several months to stay open, and they barely survived, and then they closed. A lot of them will not be coming back. This is the reality that we have to become aware of, and it's a very sad. It's operating for countless years. Sometimes individuals have been operating a small business for over 20 years, and all of a sudden they're forced to shut down. And you imagine that, and the rate of unemployment, I don't need to tell you, the rate of unemployment, I'm sure, has skyrocketed across the world. The rate of millions and millions of people, more people are unemployed. And I can only give you the stats. We should have done better research. Month of February to the month of May. From the month of February to the month of May. In the month of May, the rate of unemployment for Canada was 5.6. In the month of in the month of May, it was 13.7. The rate of unemployment has almost tripled in that way. I mean, this is a very scary statistic when you begin to look at it. And listen, this is where we get into psychological difficulties. These economic conditions, these very trying, these very hard economic conditions of the COVID, the consequences, economic consequences, are going to cause like psychological, how would I say, psychological, emotional suffering in the population. It's only natural. If you're going to lose, I mean, it's not going to be a pleasant experience for you. Having to provide for your children, it's going to be a very difficult situation. This is the reality of it. And people were speaking about increased alcohol consumption, increased drug use, increased opiate use. This is what is taking place during the COVID. It's something that cannot be denied in a way. So you have to think about in all the populations of the world. Because here, listen, we're a global community. This is the reality. Even though our politicians want to deny that, we are a global community. And then I have to wonder too. I have to wonder too. Then you get our hospital and our medical systems and our medical institutions, which are being overtasked, being overburdened. I mean, there are many reports coming out here even in Montreal, coming out that many of the frontline workers are burning out. They're overburdened. They cannot cope with what they have to do. Because, I mean, listen, what I heard, many of them are working 12-hour shifts and sometimes even for online workers. So we have to look at the COVID from many directions.